there forever, the Italians have been there forever, the French have been there forever, the Greeks have been there forever, the Chinese have been there forever, the Japanese. This country was taken inch by inch by inch by inch. Taken. But under, basically the people literally crawled across this nation. And basically, my family was known, how did you settle things in the West? Called the run of the arrow. Basically, they shoot an arrow into the sky, and wherever that arrow ended, that was the length of your land. That's how we got land in Colorado, the run of the arrow. You basically, you would run from where you're at to where the arrow is, stake out the thing, and that was your property. As far as the arrow went this way, as far as it went that way, this was all your land. That's how they settled things. But no, Americans have crawled, literally, in by their fingertips, from one shore to the other shore. We have fought one battle, and it's basically, basically, whites, Latinos, blacks, Asian, Chinese, Japanese, Chinese, Lithuanians, Russians, Jews, Germans, they have all fought together to battle their way from sea to sea. And they're not going to put up with being pushed around by people flooding into the country from the south. They're going to push back. They're on the verge of snapping. And when they snap, like my father said, he thought he would never live to see the day when people would nullify things in courtrooms because they thought the laws were unfair towards certain races.
Yeah.
Or that they would hear people, people in the press, well, I know that person is guilty.
Why?
Because they know that person is guilty. They know it because they don't like that person. They know that person is guilty. You have pushed the American people as far as you want. They said that the Tea Party is the tip of the iceberg. It is not the iceberg. 90% of the iceberg is underneath. The Titanic basically only hit the tip of the iceberg to begin with, and then it punctured aside because it didn't realize there was so much under the water.
That's why icebergs are so dangerous.
That's right. The Tea Party is not dangerous. It is what is underneath the Tea Party. Those people are they're getting tired. We have a Congress that basically doesn't care what the people want. We have a president that has total contempt. We have a news media, right and left, that basically they have no respect for their jobs. I come from an era when it was the job of the reporters to go out and report the truth. And the people may not have liked it, but today, no less than Ted Koppel, a few years ago before he got fired, it is not the job of the media to go out and report the truth. It is the job of the media to go do the story and let the people decide what the truth is. No.
And Ted Koppel's been there a long time.
Yeah, it is the job. People probably don't know who Edward R. Murrow is, but Edward R. Murrow was one of the deans of the business. He basically did all of these great things about injustice and stuff. Basically, he believed in the truth. And the truth often hurts, but it is still the truth.
But part of the challenge with the news media is that a lot of them do not have the budgets they once had.
No, they have no budget. We have no budget. Our budget all goes to equipment. We're going to 3D equipment, which is unnecessary, but I think that we're in for a revolution. And it's a revolution. It's not going to be pretty because the Latinos are going to they're already taking whole spots. They're grabbing cities. They got everywhere to the sanctuary city. They're basically taking the cities over. They've taken Bell, California, basically.
Oh boy.
Bell, California basically was taken over by Hispanics, and basically because they...
Aren't they pretty much Latin there anyway?
Basically, they don't tend to be there with the proper papers, which is why they couldn't...
Oh.
Why they wouldn't come to city council meetings, because they basically want to keep a low profile. What has happened is the people at Fox News basically raised this question because Fox News basically a bunch of a-holes, that the other press then picked it up, and then Jerry Brown needed it as a campaign thing. They didn't do anything illegally in Bill. They did it in front of the people. If you do something in front of the people, it's not called a crime.
I did see something on the on one of the stations where they were asking for donations for the city of Bell.
Yeah, but these people couldn't do anything because most of them aren't here legally. There's the Spanish gangs are becoming tremendously powerful in the United States. Whole parts of Arizona are not safe to go into now. You cannot go to state and federal parks because Latin gangs control those areas.
And it's been like that for a while.
Yeah, and it's getting worse. Our president would rather national, basically, I think we've done it before. The President of the United States is working towards basically a path to citizenship without having to actually pass any laws. You just backdooring people in. The DREAM Act, we're going to do basically, we're going to simply ignore any crime that's not a felony.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they ignore the felonies too.
They ignore the felonies too. They're basically if you were white, they wouldn't ignore them.
I know.
It's
That's
racist.
discrimination.
It's
That's
reverse
reverse.
racism.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I didn't get into medical school at Stanford University because I was white. They said, "Oh, my mother and my grandparents are Indians." Well, you look white.
Mm-hmm.
Said, "My great-grandparents are American Indians." Well, you look white. They said, "But I'm an Indian." They said, "We don't have an exemption for Indians. You're not white. I mean, you're not the right color." I wasn't black or brown, so I wasn't black, brown, or Asian, so I couldn't get into Stanford. So I had a scholarship, and I couldn't use the scholarship because I looked white. And they didn't have an exemption for American Indians, folks. You know, I might have blonde hair and green eyes, but my mommy is a little short Indian. My grandmommy is a little short Indian. My great-grandfather on my father's side, my grandfather is American Indian. My great-grandmother is American Indian. I got like 200 years of Indians on both sides of my family. I am Indian. I'm listed on the census books, not as a mix, but I'm listed as a bloody Indian, right down the middle. Indian, not mixed. I'm Indian because, you know, everybody's an Indian. I'm the only person in my family I can find in my family is my father and my grandmother. That's it. You know, father, grandmother, grandfather, everybody else is Indian, so it tended to make me Indian. You know, it's why I never get to play good guys in movies and stuff. I was like an Indian. And the weird-looking person dancing in the sand, too, but, no. I get ran up about it because I know how mean and vindictive Americans can be when they're pushed. And they will.
And we're getting to that point.
We're getting to that point. They're boiling. Don't be scared of the Tea Party. Don't be scared of Glenn Beck or Hannity, Combs, Rush Limbaugh. It's the people that are going to come after them. You've got the Hitlers, you have the Mussolinis. They're coming, folks.
Mm-hmm.
The Stalins. They are coming, and they're going to take advantage of the fact that a common unifying element for people like that is an intense hatred for the fact that our government will not pay any attention. All they got to do is simply tell the illegal aliens, they know where they all live. You tell them you got a choice. You got a choice. You become a citizen or you go home. And we know where you are. If you don't want to become a citizen, then get your butt out of the country. That solves the problem. Then you seal the border up. Every country in the world is throwing the illegal aliens out of the countries. Every country in the world is basically, they're physically tossing them out on their butts. And if they don't go, they basically give them a little tap on the back of the head, put them in a dumb, you know, like they said, Black Mariah, and take them across the border and throw their rears out. That's basically what they put all the people in that you're wanting to get rid of. It's a police vehicle.
Oh.
It's an Irish term for the paddy wagon.
Hey,
The Black Mariah. But every country in the world is at the boiling point with the illegal immigration problem. They're taking jobs from the people that are there, and they're not asked to come. I didn't ask for farm laborers to come across the border. My father didn't ask for farm laborers to come across the border. My grandparents who were born here didn't ask for them to come across the border. I know nobody in the restaurant business that asked for them to come across the border and take the jobs from black kids. None of them. You know, because my mother had to hire a Spanish general manager for the chain because they were hiring so many people that couldn't speak English. This was 50 years ago. And basically, and he basically was a major restaurant operator in Mexico, but they hired him for the chain because they need somebody to go
communicate with
to
them.
communicate with them. And they couldn't stop the local stores from hiring them. What it was, they were bouncing people that could speak English for people that couldn't speak English because it increased their bonuses by having lower.
Oh.
Yeah. Corporate management hated it. They totally hated it because you were having to do things in two separate languages. They don't want business. They say, well, business is responsible. You tell me a business that wants to print up things in Spanish
You don't
and
want to do
English.
it in two languages.
You don't want to do it in two languages. You don't want to have to hire somebody that's bilingual to communicate with the people when you've got a workforce out there of kids that work hard. I mean, like a billionaire said, there's no place for my grandchildren to work their way up like they did, I had to, because the illegal aliens are taking their jobs from them. Black kids had no work, but the illegal aliens had work. But the black kids didn't. Black America suffered badly. The unions don't want them except for voting. The unions basically have a massive history of racism. They want to protect the unions for the white, who tend to be awfully Irish, German, and Polish. You know, it is Irish, German, and Polish folks. They do not like blacks, and they do not like Latinos. They tolerate the coolies, which are that's the Chinese, because they work hard and they're good people. But they also learn to speak English, for Latinos do not want to speak English. Latinos consider us to be the slime of the earth. I'm not talking about people my age. My age are really nice people.
It's the young ones.
I can walk through any Spanish neighborhood that she would never dare to go into, and I have a great time with people. You know, they're all very respectful of somebody my age, until you get the younger people who are not respectful of people my age, and then you see the older people come out, and they stand there like Barack Obama looking at the kids, and the kids all go away. We literally have police in Southern California that are terrified of Latinos.
Really?
Terrified of them. They will not have anything to do with them because they're afraid they'll cause problems. So you have two police officers. When you have a problem, there are not enough police officers to go around, you have two police officers riding in cars in Latino neighborhoods for protection. You have to hire Latino police officers because they have to have somebody that can speak the language. So you're now having to have Latino, you're having to do things, basically the Spanish language stations, now you're having to do it across the board, which advertisers don't like. Advertising agencies don't want to film commercials in two languages. They think, well, businesses are responsible. No, the hell they're not. They're spending money they don't want to spend. You think that if they could get away with only doing a thing in English, they wouldn't,
They'd rather just do one language. It's a lot less expensive.
That's right, and you don't have to go call a workforce. I mean, I knew Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier said he wouldn't do any job that a white guy couldn't do because he was an actor. But you're having to hire people that basically are completely Latino in order to do the spots for the Latino community, because you can't have actors doing acting anymore. You must have realism. They would rather just go and say, Vincente, the Italian, can you play a Latino? Yeah. And they say, Sidney, I know you're black, but can you play a Latino? And they say, not a spring chick, you're Asian, can you play a Latino? And then they say, and if a Latino is better, then we'll hire him. It should be. We're supposed to be a non-discriminatory thing. When you're hiring Latinos to play Latinos, you're basically discriminating against people. It's discrimination. See? And I guess I thought on about this enough in front of our new backdrop. We're writing on our backdrops today. I'm uncheerful, so next time this will count.
And this is not a spring chicken. We're here yesterday, today, and tomorrow. For more information, you can always go to
www.montybubbles.net on the net, and you can bet there's going to be more on this thing because
there's
all
going to be a
hell is
whole
going to
lot
break
more.
out.
Yeah, there'll be a whole lot more. Wherever you're watching, subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, and thank you once again for over 40 million links on the internet. And stay tuned for our daily newscasting in 3D with a little camera.